Okay, so let's talk about fall fundraising because we are coming into fundraising season. This is the time of year when a lot of nonprofits raise the bulk of their budget because people are more generous, they're giving, it's the holidays, they want to help out. So talk to me about what has it been like in the past when you thought about fall fundraising or writing an appeal or asking for money. How did that feel?
So 2 years ago, and that would have been pre-pandemic, we had no experience with doing end of year fundraising, and we didn't really even know anything at all about it. That was prior to meeting you. So not long after that, we started to do things like sign up for Network for Good. So we had a donor management system. And then I was lucky enough to see a post in another group about the director circle. And it was focused on our particular area of rescue and horses and things like that. So that was a real game changer for me because we actually had a real fall season last year. And it was very powerful. I had all the calendars to work with to try and design exactly how I would go about it. And we're talking about doing this in August. That's when the calendar's in front of me and we can lay out, well, what do we actually have to do in September? And my goodness, what are we going to do on Thanksgiving Day? That it all just gets faster and faster the closer you get to the last day of the year. So we had no comparison between the year before and last year in terms of our fundraising efforts. And we did utilize some special needs that we had at Giving Tuesday that we doubled up on at the end of the year as well, because we had a horse with some emergency surgery. So we retooled that a little bit pretty quickly, but it was incredibly effective. So the only thing I really would urge everybody is start today, start right now, get ready, and don't ignore it. Even if you haven't done anything particular on Giving Tuesday before, the more energy you put into Giving Tuesday, the more you get back.
That is so true. I love that you were talking about having a plan, and it's never really too late to start, but you do have to start and you do have to plan it. You can't wait until the last minute and then say, oh, here we are, give us money and expect that to work. So let's talk a little bit about Giving Tuesday. You said you had a horse with some specific needs that you decided to pivot and use your campaign for that. Tell us a little bit more about that, especially in terms of what your goal was and how much you raised.
It was a complicated campaign because I have a lot of followers on Facebook that really seem to like to use Facebook fundraising, and that has its own appeal. It's very easy. Someone clicks that button, they're rapidly donating, and they don't necessarily want to hear a whole lot of stuff from me if they're coming to hear about our particular nonprofit from a friend, but they're supporting their friend and they do that way. We did 50% of our Giving Tuesday that way because it can really build up momentum during the day using Facebook. The other half, we used our donor management system and spent about 4 days sending out a lot of different emails and follow-ups, and we raised $5,000 for the horse's surgery through Facebook, but another $6,000 through our Network for Good campaigns. So it was more work, but it was effective because we had these two different pools of people. And on Facebook, something with that kind of immediacy, a real urgent need, does often have a great response.
Great. And what was the goal for the surgery?
So surgery, poor Dory actually is a pony that needed a knee replacement. And she had good prognosis for success. We wouldn't tackle it if it was going to be anything but good prognosis. And so the goal was 12,000. We came up maybe just a little bit short, but it was a pretty big ask for us in terms of our historical asks for a campaign. it was especially a very short campaign. You know, it's not something that you're spending 3 months raising the money.
Right, right, right. And if that was the first time you had done Giving Tuesday, then doing sounds like 11,000 something between the two strategies, that's pretty significant. I think a lot of people would say, no, that's a lot of money.
It's very successful from our standpoint too. And so I would not ignore Giving Tuesday as a possibility for any nonprofit if you put the energy into it and the planning.
So I'm going to guess that that is what you think made the difference between previous years when you just didn't do anything or didn't even think about it. You had a plan, and I'm going to guess you probably saw the path forward for how to make it all happen. Is that right?
Yes. So how to plan out having the photographs that I wanted to use and the kind of text or verbiage. I will talk about it to anybody, but we use a lot of Facebook Live, and that's what makes our Facebook connections so powerful. Others have had success with Instagram. I've seen other sanctuaries that way. For some reason, our followers seem to be really the strongest on Facebook.
And did you use Facebook Live along with your Giving Tuesday campaign?
Absolutely.
Tell us about that.
I had some volunteers and staff work with me so that they were a little bit more thought out than some of my casual Facebook Lives. We would have somebody out there to actually walk the pony so that people could visually see why this pony needed help. The difference between being in pain all the time and being able to move. And it's something that I need to follow up on actually this fall, showing people where she's at now.
And that's right, because that follow-up is part of what builds a relationship with donors, right?
Right. Yeah. They want to see what is happening with their donations and that it has an effect and it was meaningful.
Right. As Paul Harvey used to say, they want the rest of the story.
I love
that. How much more good can you do now that you have a better idea of how to run a fall fundraising campaign?
Without being able to pre-plan, there was never a sense of how large a goal you could achieve. So the more planning you do and the more confidence you give yourself in terms of building that plan, all the steps, laying it out, whether it's on a calendar or a spreadsheet, a piece of yellow lined paper, doesn't matter. Whatever gets you to actually make a plan of some kind, then you're going to be brave enough to ask for what you really need. And, I'm thinking about that as fall is approaching. We have something that's a much bigger ask than we've ever asked before. And so having past successes and knowing that I have the time, it's August, I can still make this plan work. I can consider a really big ask out there. And I'm kind of thinking of having it be across the entire fall so that I'm not diluting it with other asks.
I like that. So what I'm hearing is you're thinking more of a season-long campaign rather than one-off asks.
I think that's probably where we're heading this year, because we have a distinct need to create a space for incoming at-risk horses.
So what would you say is the one big thing that you really want people to understand about making a plan for the fall, whether they're doing Giving Tuesday or not, or an appeal or whatever they're doing? What's the one big thing you want people to know?
I think that people need to really be confident and sure about what they really want from that campaign. Because if they're not sure, if they're not confident, then they're not going to be able to really pin down how they're going to go about making the ask. Because if it's kind of wishy-washy or it's generic, like help us meet our fundraising goal and nothing more than that, it's not going to be successful. You don't even know what it is that you're asking for. You really need, I think, to take a really good look at finding something very specifically meaningful to both yourself and to the people who support your nonprofit. They're going to get behind it. If the emotion is there on your part, they're going to feel that. One of the things that happened last year with the pandemic is the magical disappearing on-site things that happened in our world of the farm sanctuary. So we pivoted and we started doing Facebook Lives every single day. I still do a short Facebook Live every single day, even if it's just a gentle stroll through the farm, meeting the individual animals that people connected to. And people report back that they love just having that quiet moment. I might take it for granted that I get to walk through the space every day, but others don't. So people really stay connected through video. And I am the first person to say that I just could never stand to see myself in front of the camera, but I care so much about what I do that I made myself do it. And now I don't even think twice about any form of video here. We do a lot.